This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CashFly.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by iFixit. You've seen their teardowns all over the internet, the free repair guide for everything, and the ultimate marketplace for electronic tools and parts. For $5 off your purchase of $10 or more, go to ifixit.com/twit and enter the code KNOWHOW at checkout. And by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/knowhow and enter the promo code KNOWHOW. Today on Know-How,
you'll know how to choose a budget 3D printer.
Welcome to Know-How. It's a Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Balaser.
And I'm Brian Burdett.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we are going to be showing you some of the 3D printers we've been geeking out to, so you can take them home or buy them and geek out on your own.
Do what you want with them.
Don't take my number.
You bought it. Do what you want with it.
These are mine. They're mine.
Which, actually, this I really like. And it was easy to assemble, too.
This was super, super easy to assemble. This is, of course, the Maker Select version 2 that was on sale at Monoprice. If you watched the last episode 2 weeks ago, there was still a Black Friday sale. You could have gotten one of these things for $260.
Right.
Crazy good deal. But of course, we included two in that first look. We had this and we had the New Matter Mod T. Because remember, the idea was for those people who wanted to get either a 3D printer for a loved one who was looking at getting into being a maker, or if you wanted to get a gift for yourself, we wanted to find two value printers, $300 range, that didn't have anything proprietary. So that got rid of XYZ.
Da Vinci.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that, Junior. But would also might be able to grow with you.
Right, right. And they kind of came from two different perspectives. Like
Very different.
This has a heated bed.
Yep.
And
much bigger build plate.
Like this is, I don't know, maybe a more advanced kit, I'd say.
It's a more advanced kit, and yet in some ways it's not as advanced as the other one. It's more unfinished. I mean, this is what we would come to expect when we thought about the early days of 3D printing.
Right.
Because we were doing a lot of assembly on our own. We had a lot of like frame rails. And if you remember the 3D printer that was left for us in the basement of Twit, that thing just never worked. I mean, you would have to calibrate it mid-print.
And that's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable.
And then the other one was the Mod T, which is, I guess I'd say maybe a little bit more elegant looking. It's more elegant, like self-contained.
Precisely. But, you know, the question is, who are they for? Is this for an intermediate user? Is this for a novice user? Is the Mod T for an advanced user? Right. Who is going to buy these $300 pieces of kit, and are they worth your money?
And now that you have them both put together, you've used them.
I've used them extensively.
Them.
And so why don't we go ahead and take a look at how the Maker Select from Monoprice held up. If you've ever looked at building your own 3D printer, you'll probably recognize the design of the Monoprice Maker Select version 2. It's based on the Prusa i3 design with a few Monoprice improvements to increase build quality while keeping the price low. The Maker Select uses a traditional 3-axis design with an in-bed stepper controlling the Y-axis, a single arm-mounted stepper controlling the X-axis, and dual steppers driving the Z-axis. The Maker Select build area is very generous. It supports a maximum build size of 7.9 inches by 7.9 inches by 7.1 inches high, and has a heated bed to keep your prints from curling due to thermal inconsistencies. The Maker Select offers a maximum of 100 micron resolution and a 100 millimeter per second printing speed, which is excellent for a printer in this price range. And the extruder has a maximum temperature of 500 degrees Fahrenheit or 260 degrees Celsius. This means that the Maker Select can use a wide range of filaments including ABS, PLA, XT, PET, TPU, TPC, FPE, FPA, HIPS, jelly, foam, and Felty. Basically, if it's 1.7 millimeters thick and filament shaped, the Maker Select can probably use it. Assembly is required, but it only involves 6 screws and an included hex wrench. There are multiple plugs to connect, but they're all clearly labeled, and with the pre-made wiring harness, each plug can only reach the socket to which it's supposed to be connected. You can have the unit unpacked, assembled, and ready to calibrate in under 5 minutes. Calibration takes a little patience and a little practice to get it right. Plug in and power on the unit, and in a few moments you'll see printer ready on the LCD screen. Using the Z position feature, move the arm away from the bed to get some workspace. Be sure not to force the arm up or down manually. Use the menu feature to avoid damaging the printer. Now, compress the springs on the 4 bed adjusters. Then use the menu to select Home All, which will move all the steppers to their home positions. Shut off the power, then manually move the printhead and the bed to position the nozzle over each of the 4 corners of the bed, each time adjusting the height of the bed to be close enough to cause friction with a business card between the extruder and the bed. With the printer calibrated, it's time to load up and print. Again, using the menu system, first preheat the extruder to the temp required by your filament, then load your filament of choice. Be sure to match your preheat cycle with your filament. You want to get this temperature right so the filament will extrude properly. With the printer assembled, calibrated, and loaded, it's time to get printing. The Monoprice Maker Select version 2 uses either the USB interface or a MicroSD card to load a sliced 3D object. Monoprice suggests using the Cura slicer, which is compatible with STL, OBJ, and 3MF files, but you can use any program you want as long as it outputs to G-code. With a large heated bed, flexible filament options, fast printing, and decent resolution, the Maker Select is a phenomenal value at $300. But be prepared to tinker. You should get into the habit of calibrating your bed often, especially if you move your printer. Unlike some more expensive units, the Maker Select doesn't have a protective outer shell, which means any part of the printer you touch is a structural member that, if moved, can ruin the calibration. Also, without a shell, the Maker Select can be loud. If you have a separate lab or storeroom, you definitely want the printer in there rather than in your workspace. For those reasons, I can't really recommend the Maker Select to a 3D printing newcomer. But if you have even a little 3D printing know-how and patience, you'll get beautiful prints and the ability to hone your 3D foo. Also, you're going to love all the 3D printed add-ons that the community has already made for your scrappy Select. Finally, at $300, the Monoprice Maker Select version 2 isn't just a good value, it's got value to spare.
You know, this thing really changed my expectations from a $300 printer. I mean, it used to be a $300 printer was, okay, obviously it's not going to do a lot of stuff. It's not going to do what I want, but at least I'm 3D printing.
Right.
This is one of these things that after I, like my 6th or 7th print through this thing, I realized this is actually good.
It's pretty solid.
It works really, really well. In fact, here's the print that, oh, by the way, it's on right now. I don't like this. It is a little,
kind of hear it humming, yeah.
It's a little loud. I don't. That does get on you, especially when it starts printing and the secondary fan spins up.
Yeah.
This thing is really, really loud. It's probably the con. The con is this is not designed to be sitting next to your desktop.
No, you probably had this out in your garage or something.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at this looks really good. I mean, let's see if I can get, there we go. The quality on this print, I mean, it's solid. And I wasn't even printing at the slowest speed possible, which is typically what gives you the best resolution. It feels smooth. There's no jagged edges. Even the carve outs for the B and the F and the G, they worked really well. And the heated bed, oh, it makes all the difference.
Well, yeah, so that's the problem I always have had is when I do a flat segment like this, the edges tend to kind of curl up. And this looks nice and flat and even
and I will mention,
pretty.
Neither printer did I use any slurry or solution on the bed to keep the print stuck.
Right, so, with the DaVinci, we had to use a glue stick in the past to get it to work.
And this thing works really well. And I mean, the build area on this is just phenomenal. I love it. A few bad spots, again, the noise, but the big one for me is, look at this. So this is steady right now. In fact, go to the side view, Alex. So that's a structural member that moves.
Oh.
And remember, this spool of filament, which weighs 2 kilograms, it does tend to do that.
Right.
So as it's pulling filament, it just kind of wobbles. Not great. I've already seen an aftermarket 3D print that I'm going to be doing, which basically builds off an attachment on either side. So it kind of turns into a little pyramid thing.
Right.
But the problem with this is because there is no shell here.
Yeah.
This is a structural member. So if this moves during the print, it actually changes the position of the head in relation to the bed. And that can really mess up your print.
So this is a set it, get it all the little accoutrements set, and then don't touch it. Like walk away. Yeah.
Walk the heck away.
And try not to probably touch the desk that it's sitting on or anything like that.
I actually have this on, it's on like a foam. It's a foam pad, so any of the vibrations get absorbed, and rather than getting, because what I don't want is I don't want a harmonic vibration to really start shaking this thing.
Yeah, and I would think that over time that might be something that would happen. Like as it's 3D printing, it probably will shake a little bit.
Yep.
And then offset itself. So
Yeah.
smart.
Now, that being said, it is still a phenomenal value. Again, I would not recommend this for a novice. If this is something that you're going to buy for a small child, if this is something that you're going to buy and you've got no experience in 3D printing whatsoever,
Like you could do it, but you're going to have a lot of learning experiences, I guess.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this because I thought, oh, this is perfect for the beginner. Then I started thinking about all the things that I did to make this work that I just knew to do because I've played with 3D printers for 2 years now. And I'm like, oh, you know what? If I was new to this, I
probably wouldn't have figured that. Yeah, your print would have come out weird, and then you'd have to diagnose it. And then,
Precisely. Like if something happens, like the first print didn't turn out right, and I knew it was the calibration of the bed, but I had already calibrated the bed, and I just realized I must have moved something, and I have to recalibrate.
Right.
If you didn't know that at all, you would think the 3D printer's broken.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But for that price.
For that price, it's really hard.
It's hard to
beat.
resist. Yeah.
I mean, when you look at how big this build, this build area is bigger than some of the multi-$1,000 printers. The resolution is fantastic. It is not proprietary at all. Not only will it use any filament, like I love Hatchboxes. This is my filament of choice.
It'll do ABS also.
It'll do ABS. I don't do ABS because I don't like the toxic fumes, but it will also do things like Felty. It'll do hips. It will do the Ninja Flex stuff. So, I mean,
it's pretty versatile.
Very versatile. So many different options that you can add to this thing. And I think, and this is the reason why this is going to sit right next to my Dremel. My Dremel is great because it'll churn out stuff all day.
Yeah.
But this is the printer that I will be adding on things. Like, come back in a year, and this thing will look like something out of Road Warrior.
Yeah, it's I like that idea of it. This is the 3D printer that you build more parts for. Like, it builds parts for itself.
It builds little versions of itself, Brian.
That's pretty meta.
That's meta. Now, I will say, when we first showed this, there was a sale. You could get it for $260. Not so much anymore. If you go to that link, Alex, they're actually selling for, I think, $317 now. But even then, yeah, $320. This is still a deal. I mean, it was way more of a deal at $260.
Right.
But if you've got a little bit of 3D printing experience, if you're looking for something that will grow with you, if you're looking for something that you can tinker with to make even better, yeah, full-heartedly get this.
Go for this. And as far as speed too,
it's fast.
It's fast.
100 millimeters per second.
Not bad.
Yeah. I compared this to the Dremel at its fastest speed, and this might actually be a little faster than the Dremel.
Pretty cool.
Go figure. And at a third of the cost.
Yeah, and the video you didn't speed up any of that.
No,
right?
that was all real time.
Yeah, that wasn't a time
That
lapse.
wasn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
time.
I would never do that. That would be dishonest.
Wouldn't that be cool? I'm sure there will be a point where
Eventually.
3D printers get to that.
Well, it is the stereoscopic lithography.
Oh.
Because all it is it's light. It's light that hardens resin, and the resin just rises.
Right.
That's actually super fast.
That is okay.
Yeah.
Well, we should get one of those, but I don't think you can get those for $300.
No.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to be doing a couple of tips for all you 3D enthusiasts. But before we get there, let's go ahead and thank the sponsor of this episode of Know-How. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
I didn't need any tools for this because it was just 6 bolts and a hex wrench.
Excluding me, right?
Okay, I need one big tool.
Yeah, to put this together.
But, a lot of our projects do require tools. And we've learned the hardware over the last couple of years that you really want the right tool for the job. I mean, a lot of times you can kind of take that tool that kind of works, and you end up stripping a head, or you end up marring the case, or you end up just destroying whatever it is that you're working on.
Right. Well, the everyday gadgets that I use are getting more powerful and more complex, which means they're harder to take apart and harder to fix. But when you have all those tools in one little kit, and you can go to a website and find reviews on how to fix it. That is nice. And we're, of course, talking about iFixit.
iFixit. iFixit is our one-stop shop, and it's the place that we trust for our tools, for our parts, and most importantly, for all of the free manuals. If you've ever wanted to know how to take things apart, how to fix them, how things work, iFixit is your friend. Now, iFixit is all about giving you access to the information you need to do your best DIY or maker job. With more than 22,000 free repair guides and 90,000 troubleshooting solutions, the good people at iFixit are experts in consumer electronics repair. iFixit provides all the repair knowledge you need for free. They also sell a wide array of parts and tools to help you get the job done. They know what they're doing, so they can help you with what you're doing. Now, this is their completely reimagined ProTech Toolkit. It's just as good and rugged as before, but they listened to their customers and they included the things that people wanted. They've got a durable canvas case. They've got hand-selected high-quality steel bits, custom anodized aluminum driver handle. They thought of everything, so you only have to worry about the fix. This kit includes a 64-bit driver kit, which replaces the old 54-bit driver kit, precision ESD-safe tweezers, a pair of reverse tweezers, a wide variety of plastic opening tools, and picks to safely work on tablets and smartphones, including suction cups so you can get those displays off without destroying them. They've also got a metal spudger and iFixit's own rubber-handed Jimmy pry tool. The ProTech Toolkit is the last precision toolkit that you'll ever need, and that's why it's backed by iFixit's lifetime guarantee. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to trust the people that we trust. The people at iFixit never stop repairing, and with this toolkit under your belt, you won't either. Head over to ifixit.com/twit and use the code KNOWHOW at checkout to save $5 on your purchase of $10 or more. Even if you don't buy anything, you can still use their free repair guides, troubleshooting answer forms, and other educational resources on their website anytime your tech has an accident. iFixit. It's the better way to DIY. And we thank iFixit for their support of Know-How. All right, Brian, so people are starting their 3D printing lives, their careers. We wanted to give some practical tips for them to take into their workshops.
Right, and that seems very poignant for if this is going to be your first 3D printing kit that you're looking at. You're going to want to know how to diagnose things. You're going to want to have to look for things that might throw you off.
Precisely, and the very first thing that people should know is that measuring counts. I can't.
Wait, no, you measure once and you cut twice.
No. I measure once and then I print like 16 times because they're always a tiny bit off. This is actually what I did. I used like a ruler, a standard ruler to kind of eyeball how big something was, and then I would print like 3 versions of it. Half a millimeter
You know that little stand that I made for my Game Boy?
Yep.
Super simple like modeling thing that I didn't measure it properly like the first 3 times, so I ended up having like 4 or 5 versions of it.
And that's not uncommon because this is that desire, like, no, just get it into the printer. It's got to be printing. If it's not printing, I'm wasting time.
Well, the sooner you're printing, the sooner you get to play with it.
Precisely, and that's just stupid. Don't do that. That wastes filament. It wastes your time. Instead, and again, this is from experience. This is something I wish I had when I first started doing 3D design. Get yourself a nice caliper. Now, this is a digital caliper. This is what I would suggest. Don't get a mechanical, get a digital. It makes all the difference because it means you have much more likelihood that your print will be the right size the first time.
And the nice thing about having one of those, you don't have to use it just for 3D printing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. I use it for all sorts of stuff.
So the design of these things are really, really simple. The reason why it's in a case, oh, by the way, don't buy one of these that's not in a case because if you put this into a tool bag, it gets knocked around, it will be out of calibration before you can count.
Right.
So you turn this thing on, and I can measure in millimeters, I can measure in inches. I'm going to zero it out. And as I advance this, it gives me accuracy down to 0.01 millimeters, from 0.01 all the way up to 150 millimeters.
And if you're in the US, it'll do inches.
But that's a useless measurement because everything's in millimeters, so measure in millimeters. Now, the cool thing about this is, so if I need to, like let's say I want to make the right size for, where's that? For one of these breadboards, because I've been doing prints based on these breadboards. I can know exactly, not kind of, but exactly how big this thing is. It's 22.05 millimeters. So I know on my 3D print, if I make it 22.10, I get a tiny bit of clearance, which is exactly what I want.
Right.
What I probably would have done in the past is I would have made one at 22, 22 and a half, and 23, and 2 of them would have been wasted.
And then you should probably point out why is this sticking out over here?
Oh, I don't know, Brian. Maybe because I can stab you with it.
Well, okay. Thanks, Roberto.
Yeah, it's a stabbing implement.
But it's good for measuring height on things too.
Exactly. Now, the other cool thing about this, and this is one of the things I like about this particular one, is it's not just inside measurements. The little, like, looks like a claw, the smaller claw.
A clamp.
That clamp. That's for measuring like spaces on the insides. For example,
like the diameter of something.
Precisely. I'm actually working on something that's going to be using these standard aluminum riser rods, and it's going to have a couple of them through a support. Well, this was the old way. This is like revision 10. I built a lot of these things. But what I could have done is when I was measuring this, I could have just put this inside, and it would have given me the inside dimensions exactly. I mean, that's what you want. You don't want the guess game. You want to know exactly how big you have to make this. So I could measure that, and I can also measure this.
Perfect.
I mean, this tool has made my first print perfect for the last 6 months.
Very cool. And yeah, so I reset it every time I turn it on. So I'll go to 0 and then zeroed it out.
Precisely. Yeah, you just assume that it's going to
got offset. Yeah.
But I mean, as long as you keep this thing in its case, it will last forever.
I was gonna say the only problem I've ever had with mine is that I was using it. I think I dropped it maybe a couple of inches onto the LCD screen and cracked it.
Once you start bending anything here, it's
over.
It's over.
How much is this one?
Well, if you go to the link there, this thing is not that much at all. This is $16. You can buy cheaper, but the cheaper typically don't have a case. Always get the one with the case.
And don't forget to turn it off when you're not using it, because it will kill the battery pretty quickly. It does, like mine, it came with an extra battery.
Battery, because it knows you're going to do that.
Yeah, the first battery is a trial battery, and the second battery is like, don't make this mistake again.
Oh, and by the way, replacement batteries are $30 each.
Yeah, that's the cost of the tool itself.
Folks, that's actually something that I think everyone who's doing any sort of 3D design is going to love. Get yourself a decent caliper. In fact, there are some out there that sell for $80, $90. I've seen one as high as $400 for like laser calipers.
You're doing some precise stuff.
You don't need that. Just get yourself one of these. Get yourself 2 of these at this price, because you're going to break one. Trust me, it's going to save you so much time, you'll thank me.
Well, and I've used it on a ton of other projects too. Like even when I'm just working on my motorcycle, I've used it to measure the distance of the chain when you have to like compress the plates of the chain together. You don't want to over compress it or under compress it, or your chain will fall apart. So it's good to measure those things.
That's why I love Arquitas. You got Creamy Corn Cob and others who are saying, oh yeah, no, I've had my caliper for the last 60 years. It's fine. What? Oh, it's I keep it in a titanium box. You know, my belt at all times.
It never sees the light of day, but yes, it still works.
Yeah, it's one of these tools that if you're an engineer, if you're a geek, once you get it, you're gonna wonder why you didn't get it years before.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still don't get it.
It's okay, Brian.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It was at that moment.
Last week.
Oh, right. That was last week. That was a different reference.
No callbacks. Now, folks, when we come back, we've got one more quick tip for all of you 3D printing aficionados, but there's actually an honorable mention to this series, because we did this is sort of the value printer shootout. Robo 3D. Love their stuff. They really wanted to play.
Robo 3D.
Robo 3D. But I was like, you need a $300 printer, and like they don't have that.
What's their lowest tier?
They have like a $600 printer.
Well, it's half of $300. I mean, so just use half of the 3D printer. You're fine.
They make great stuff. They make great filament as well, and I wanted to include them.
Yeah.
They're going to be we're going to do a mid-range and then a high-level 3D printer episode as well. Yes. So they will be on the show. But because they were so nice and they really wanted to be on this episode, we decided to take you back to CES and show you what Robo 3D could do for you and your filament. 2016 is the year that the 3D printer grows up. I'm here at the Robo 3D booth speaking with Dan, who's going to explain why their units, their 3D printers, might be your next make or purchase. Dan, I love the gear. Explain to me what you think sets Robo 3D aside from your competitors.
Well, the fantastic thing about Robo 3D is that it is able to provide the biggest print size on the market. So what you see over here is a 10 by 9 by 8 inches build, okay? That's a really good solid build that you've got. At the same time, you've got also the fastest speed on the market at 80 millimeters per second. Also down to 50 microns, which is a really high resolution. But the real interesting thing is the different filaments that we have that are able to democratize the whole of the 3D printing market for the consumer.
I want to get into the filaments in just a bit, but let's talk about the specs, because this is actually important. What we've seen over the last, I'll say 18 months, is there are more and more companies that are offering 3D printers, which means it's getting more difficult to differentiate yourself. And the way that you differentiate yourself is you offer better resolution and you offer faster prints, larger print sizes, which is what attracted us to the Robo 3D booth. Now, if someone was looking to start off, give me price points. So looking from this first printer to this one, what are they looking at if they want to start up with a Robo 3D?
Well, right now on the market is the Robo R1, which the R1 is at $799. So that's the real workhorse. If you want a fantastic print and with a whole variety of materials, that's the one to get. The entry-level one, which is going to come into the marketplace around about May, June of this coming year, is at around about under the $1,000 mark, and that is a 5 by 5 by 5 inches build size. The difference here is the electronics and the internal mechanics. So what you have is you have the bed going up and down rather than the nozzles going up and down, making for a much higher resolution and a much stabler build. Over here, you have the prosumer version, and the prosumer version allows you to have two nozzles doing different materials all at the same time. And also at the same time, you can buy an attachment which will allow you to have ceramics. And so if you've broken your grandma's favorite Wedgwood china, you can reconstruct it without her even knowing. Well, I'm kidding. But, you know, that is one of those things, as well as doing food. And so you can have all sorts of icing mixtures, as well as something high in cellulose that will be able to print an amazing feature for your special dinner party.
Dan, let's talk about filaments, because it used to be the debate with filaments was, do I go ABS, do I go PLA, do I do NinjaFlex, what temperature do I want to run my extruder? We've kind of gotten past that. PLA is a great material to work with. It's non-toxic, but we can now get variants of PLA. Tell me about what we've got in front of us.
Well, this particular PLA right now that you have, and if you actually feel it, is wood-infused PLA. You can sand it, you can varnish it, you can actually use it like wood. Okay, so this over here, and compare this to the heaviness of the copper-infused PLA. Copper-infused allows you to polish it, and it reacts the same way. It gives it a beautiful green sheen after a period of time. Okay, so those kind of materials are available to you. At the same time, you have a latex type of PLA, which allows you to do tires. Interesting stuff like that. Isn't that fun? Okay, so not only can you build your car, you can also put on the tires at the same time. You also have a iron-infused PLA, which reacts the same way as iron. So if you want your Action Man figure, not only do you have a plastic type of an application, but also you can make real iron parts and gloves and boots and that kind of thing. So democratizing it all in terms of people being able to access different types of prints and also with different materials is probably the most important thing that we can do.
Dan, thank you so very much for talking with us. Now, if they want to find out more about Robo 3D and your entire line of printers and filaments, where can they go?
Of course, you can go to Best Buy and purchase your fantastic R1 printer. Soon to bring in the R2, both in terms of mini. But more importantly, if you want really fantastic, up-to-date, please come to www.robo3d.com.
Thanks for speaking with us. Robo 3D, dream it, build it, make it. Now, I like the Robo 3D printers. They are actually very elegant. They
look
very
really nice.
Super high quality. A little on the pricey side.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you expect from a higher end printer. But we will get one in. I'm not sure which one, but we're going to get one into the mid-range and the high-end 3D printer shootout.
I like the different filaments that you can print with, like the copper-infused one. That's interesting.
I mean, can you imagine like making the steampunk goggles out of those
and then they
leaving
start,
it outside
and start turning green?
It's got the patina, like the Statue of Liberty patina.
That'd be perfect. Yeah.
I mean, there's something about that when you see that, you automatically don't think it's a 3D print because it can't be. I mean, you're getting that sheen.
Right, like plastic is all.
Yep.
When I think 3D printing, it's always plastic. And if you had, what was the latex one too? That would be cool for doing like a wristband or something. If you wanted to do like a watch. Remember when I did that watch project?
Yep.
I could have 3D printed something for that. I would like that.
They have also got filaments that are carbon fiber infused. So I mean, it doesn't give it the same strength because, of course, it's not like the interlock carbon fiber.
But is it lighter?
It's lighter, but it has that look. If you like that carbon fiber look, that's really what it's for.
Did they show that off?
They didn't.
Okay.
That's brand new. Actually, they introduced that after we filmed that segment.
Because I'd like to see that. I feel like it's more of a pattern than it is like. I want to see that.
Yeah. Now, folks, we will be getting to the last printer in our shootout in just a bit. But first, we wanted to give you one more tip, and that is how to keep bacon from happening. We've covered this several times, but people keep asking, so here we go again. Now, there's really 3 options for not having your prints curl.
Okay, I thought you said bacon.
Yeah, bacon. You know, like curly edges.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, why would I want bacon to not happen?
Brian, you
It's
gotta
not a situation.
Stay with me, man.
Okay, I'm coming up.
First is tape. Now this is the tape that comes with the Maker Select version 2. Now the nice thing about this is that they come in pre-done sheets. These are also incredibly expensive. I think you can get like a 3-pack for $30 or something like that. So, but they'll last a really, really long time. And this will last like 150 prints or something like that.
That's pretty good,
depending on how good I am to it.
Right.
You can also go super cheap and get the blue painter's tape, the really wide blue painter's tape.
I've tried that.
It's not worked well for me.
No, what ended up happening to me is that the extruder would hit the lip of the tape and then yeah,
precisely.
And then it's like, oh, well, throw that print out.
That's why this works really, really well. In fact, this is what I also use on my Dremel. Of course, on my Dremel, that's not enough. The nice thing about the Maker Select is the heated bed. The heated bed is an added protection against that curling, against the bacon.
And because it's an open enclosure, it has to have a heated bed.
It has to, because you've got every kind of wind draft hitting that thing.
That's probably one thing we didn't mention either, though, when we were talking about it, is be careful that it's not in a drafty area.
Precisely.
Because that'll screw up your print.
Yes, it will. Now, if you want to use tape in addition to something else, there are 2 options. The one that I use most often for the Dremel is a glue stick. It's a standard glue stick, an Elmer's glue stick. If you get a bigger one, it's easier to apply. You don't need a lot. You just put a very thin sheet on it, just enough to tack it down. Because remember, you don't want to permanently stick the print to the plate.
No.
You just want to keep the edges from curling up.
You want to apply enough adhesion so that it has something to stick to and then build on top of without.
Precisely. And if you do it that way, the added bonus is if you've got a removable plate, like I have on the New Matter and on the Dremel, not on the Maker Select, you can remove the plate, and I just leave it in a little basin of water for about 10 minutes, and the glue just dissolves, and the print comes right off, because otherwise you have to
chisel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of 3D printers that come with a glass base. Like I'm thinking of the Da Vinci that I use. I'll let the plate just soak.
Typically, they use borosilicate glass, which is much less likely to chip and crack. But even that, I mean, I have so much trouble making stuff stick to glass, so I always put a little bit of a base. There is one more option, very popular. I do use this on a couple of my printers. That's Aquanet.
What's Aquanet?
It's hairspray.
Oh, why would you ever need that much hairspray?
If you were in the 80s, this was like one day. There's a lot of Aquanet being used back in the day. Now, there's a specific type of Aquanet that you want to use, and Alex, we actually have a link for this. It's the Aquanet unscented. It has to be unscented, otherwise it will mess up your printer. Super hold or extra super hold, anything like that. Now, let me do a warning here. There was a maker who was killed because he had a makerspace in his garage, and I guess he had been like using a lot of hairspray. He had just been doing 3D prints, no ventilation. It exploded. I mean, this is flammable. The propellant in hairspray is actually flammable. So if you use it without ventilating, bad things can happen. So
Wouldn't you smell it in the air enough?
Smell is,
I guess,
I mean,
is
if
relative.
you're sitting there, I mean, look, we work next to a stockyard. Do you really smell the stockyard anymore, Brian?
No, not anymore. Just because I'm so used to it.
But when people come here for the first time, they're like, oh.
The Sonoma aroma.
The Sonoma aroma. Also with this, there's a tendency for people to like just want to layer it on.
Yeah, just like your hair.
No, don't.
Don't do that.
You don't, again, you're not trying to hold down the print. You just need enough to tack the edges. So it's just like that's enough.
Right.
That basically, everything that I did there, what I could do is I could take a damp cloth and I can spread it around. But anything more than that is superfluous.
Less is more.
Less is definitely never more. And wow, that smell, it is bringing me back to the 80s. I feel like I'm at the mall.
Excuse me, Padre, I have a dramatization of what will happen if you...
It's true.
It's actually, I actually wanted to set this on fire. I was going to do the little flamethrower, but I was told that we really shouldn't do that in the studio.
Did he use a cigar to light that?
He did.
Sure did.
Which, by the way, does not work. It has to be an open flame. A glowing ember doesn't
Unless
work.
you're James Bond. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, precisely. When we get back, we're going to go ahead and do the final review. We want to show you what we thought of the new Matter. But before we do that, hey, Brian.
What's up?
Did you know that the average human spends 26 hours a day in bed?
That sounds totally correct.
Yes, it's scientific. I heard that on the internet. It's the truth.
You got to get good sleep, and the only way to do it is 26 hours a day.
Okay, so it's not 26 hours, but we all know that sleep is something that has been sorely lacking in our society. Unfortunately, we're always on. We've got entertainment any time of the day. We can jump on the internet. We've got our own entertainment on our NASs.
That's right.
Right now, I could pull up everything from National Geographic documentaries about the Far East to the latest episode of Bob's Burgers.
But if you want to fall asleep, then just watch our show.
You just watch it. We're very good for that. Yeah. But if you can't watch Know How because your parents have forbidden you, which
they probably should have.
They probably really should. What instead you need to do is you need to take a look at your sleep system. Are you putting yourself in the proper frame of reference to sleep? Are you on a bed that's comfortable? Are you in an environment that will let you get the deepest sleep possible so that you can be as good as you can be? Well, that's why we're so happy to have Casper as a sponsor of Know How. You see, Casper is a different kind of mattress company. They've got obsessively engineered mattresses at a fair price. They're an online retailer that passes all of the savings and not having a middleman down to you. They combine two technologies, springy latex foam and supportive memory foam, to create an award-winning sleep surface with just the right sink and just the right bounce. A Casper mattress provides long-lasting comfort and support, and it's engineered to meet the Goldilocks standards of just right, so it's not too hard and not too soft. They've got a breathable design that sleeps cool. That means that you're not going to have one of these, if you've ever like bought a memory foam topper, you're not going to wake up in the middle of the night completely soaked in sweat because it basically created a hermetic seal around your body. Casper gets that your body needs to breathe even when you're sleeping, and that's how they've made their mattresses. You can buy it easily online and completely risk-free. Leo got a brand new Casper mattress and he loves it because Casper understands the importance of truly trying out a mattress that in all reality you spend a third of your life on. They offer free delivery and painless returns within a 100-day period, so you don't have to lie down in a showroom, which we know doesn't really have anything to do with how it's going to feel. 5 seconds, 45 seconds on a mattress isn't a night's sleep. So Casper will deliver to your home. You can try it out, see if it's right for you in your room, in your environment, in the space at which you're going to dream, and decide for yourself if Casper is for you. They've got free shipping and returns to the United States and Canada, and the Casper mattress is a 2016 Business Intelligence Group Innovation Award winner. Folks, get a Casper mattress today. $500 for a twin or $950 for a king size. Compared to industry averages, that's an outstanding price. And you can save an additional $50 towards a mattress purchase as one of our audience members by going to casper.com/knowhow. That's casper.com/knowhow and entering the promo code knowhow. Once again, casper.com/knowhow with the promo code knowhow. Terms and conditions apply. A better night's sleep awaits with Casper. And we thank Casper for their support of Know How. Hey, Brian.
What's up?
You know, we had 2 printers in this value printer shootout.
That we did, yeah. 2 in the $300 range. One that is more of a maker modder little bit more of a learning curve, and then the other one that's kind of a self-contained, quiet, maybe less of a learning curve.
Indeed. That's why we took a look at the new Matter Mod T.
More than 2 years ago, New Matter took to Indiegogo to fund a project to create a low-maintenance, high-quality 3D printer that would be easy enough to use, even for the 3D noob. The result? The Mod T. The Mod T is a PLA-only, Wi-Fi-enabled 3D printer designed to be usable even by the non-tech. It comes with everything you need to be up and running in under 10 minutes, including the printer, a half-kilogram spool of filament, nozzle cleaner, cutter, and print removal tool. Getting the Mod T ready to print is straightforward. There is no assembly required other than attaching the filament spool holder to the back of the printer, mating the print surface onto the build plate, then dropping the build plate into the printer. At which point you'll notice that the Mod T uses a different setup than most 3D printers. Most will use a series of stepper motors to control the X and Y axes, either moving the extruder across the build plate or using a combination of a stepper in the build area to move the plate in one axis, while the extruder moves in the other. Instead, the Mod T uses servo motors that are geared to a set of pinion rods to move the build plate in both the X and Y axes, while the extruder only moves up and down. Setup starts by installing an application on your computer to communicate with the Mod T. After installation, the app will guide you through the remaining hardware steps, including connecting the Mod T to your computer via USB, then automatically updating the printer's firmware. Once updated, you'll be prompted to create a New Matter account, which isn't optional. You need that account to communicate with your Mod T. After naming your printer, you're given the option of connecting the Mod T to your network via Wi-Fi. You can forego this step and just link through the USB port, but who doesn't have Wi-Fi? If you do connect the Mod T to your wireless network, you can now disconnect the USB cable, as all communications will now take place wirelessly. This means that you can trigger the filament loading sequence either through the Mod T application or through the web interface. Calibrating the Mod T is easy. Really easy. Because you don't have to. You don't need to level the plate or prime the printing surface. The bed and rod system automatically levels the build area, and the printer has an auto-centering and homing feature that keeps everything in spec. Using the Mod T is different for most printers because you need access to the internet. Rather than slicing your own 3D object and loading them into the printer via the memory card or USB interface, you send the file to New Matter's server, which processes it, then sends it directly to your printer. The Mod T can print with a resolution between 100 and 400 microns, depending on your requirements for speed and quality. Once the print is loaded into memory, the button on the front panel starts to blink. Pushing that button starts the print. It sounds like a roundabout way to start a print, but the system actually works really well, and the interface is well suited for a newcomer. The build area is usable, if a bit on the small side. It can print objects 6 inches wide, 4 inches deep, and 5 inches high on its non-heated build plate. Because of the unique design of the Mod T, the build plate can be easily removed from the pinion rods for object scraping or cleaning. One thing that I really appreciated about the Mod T is that it's quiet, especially once you've covered the build area with the acrylic dome. Compared to other printers in this price range, and even the more expensive ones, you can barely hear the Mod T in operation. There are definitely a few questionable parts of the Mod T experience. The build area is a bit small, and you need to use New Matter's site to launch prints, and some might miss filament options other than PLA. But it's still a great choice for those who want to print without spending a lot of money and troubleshooting time. With the auto calibration, unique build surface sub $300 price point, and quiet operation, this is a rare product that does everything it promises to do.
So I had both printers print the same file. This was from the BFG. This is the power
big
control system.
frickin' giant.
A big friendly giant.
That's it.
So let's take this. We'll take off the cover. Now I will say the resolution on this one suffered because I needed to take the dome off so that I could film a little bit of this.
Oh,
and
it does
this
look
doesn't
like
have a heated bed.
it lifted.
It lifted a tiny bit. That wouldn't normally happen if you have the acrylic case down because it keeps the heat inside the printer.
Right.
But you know, the previous prints I did actually looked quite good. The resolution is pretty good. I would say it's not as good as my Dremel, and it's not as good as the Maker Select, but it's right up there. Speed's also quite good. I have to say, watching this mechanism, it is kind of entrancing. It's very cool to see.
That's pretty clever. And my question to you was, do you think it's any slower or faster? Or is it the same kind of speed even with a moving head?
It looks like it's about the same speed, but I do love this. I mean, the whole idea of being able to take the build platform right off.
That is nice.
And then drop it straight back on. I mean, and it does all of its own calibration.
You don't see. That's kind of a.
That's the big hook.
Yeah, I mean, game changer might be too big of a word for that, but like if you're new to 3D printing. Yeah. Trying to set up or calibrate your bed is probably one of the more difficult things you would have to do. And if you just want to get into printing, just being able to set the bed down and go is nice. Yeah. Now, you said you have to use a web interface.
You do.
Does that make it easier, though? Or is it more difficult? Because I feel like having to go into a slicer program sometimes can be more of a pain.
Yeah, for me, it is more annoying because I have all the tools on my desktop.
Yeah.
But if someone is brand new at this, and they didn't want to start with Tinkercad and then maybe go to a finishing program like Mesh Mixer,
right.
Then go into the slicing program. It's easier just to drop the item into New Matter's server, have it do all the slicing, because it will also do the supports automatically. It will analyze the object, decide if you want to do the supports, and send straight to the printer. So for someone like me or for you, who have done 3D printing for 18 months, I think that it's cumbersome. It's cumbersome, but for a newbie, if you were getting this for someone who has never done 3D printing, this is a fantastic system.
Yeah, and I could almost see this sitting in someone's living room or their kitchen almost.
It just looks nice.
You just have something you're 3D printing, you can like kind of see it in the
fancy.
background. Yeah.
And when it's in operation, it's actually really, really quiet.
Right.
Unlike that Select, even when it's not printing anything, it's kind of loud. When it's printing, it's even louder. This, it's a low hum. It's just the fan, but the fan is inside the enclosure, so you don't really hear it.
Right.
And it's unique. I mean, watching this little plate move around, I want to make something like that. It's such a good idea.
It's pretty ingenious. Yeah.
I just love it. So for $300, get this. Especially the fact that it does PLA, but it's not bound to proprietary PLA. What I compare this to is the DaVinci Junior. This is like the DaVinci Junior. It has the same print surface as a DaVinci Junior. It has better resolution than a DaVinci Junior, except this does not have proprietary filament. You can use any filament that you want on this.
Isn't it just PLA though?
It's just PLA.
Yeah.
It's PLA, but I mean, you don't have to buy New Matter PLA.
Right, with an NFC tag on the spool.
There is no NFC tag.
Right.
If I would get the Maker Select if you are intermediate. I would get this if you're a beginner.
And the bed's a little bit smaller on this, right, than the Maker Select?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually a lot smaller. It's about like half the size.
Is it half the size? Okay.
About half the size, yeah.
So there's some compromises, but it depends on who. If you're getting this for yourself, you know what you would like. If you're more of the you want to figure it out more, or if you don't want to have to bother with it and you just want to print, then this seems like this one. If you're giving it as a gift to someone who is getting into 3D printing, it sounds like
this would be the one.
Yeah,
this would be the one. But that's the nice thing about this. Both of the printers that we've taken a look at today, both the New Matter Mod T and the Monoprice Maker Select version 2, they both have their places, and I could see having both. In fact, I want to keep both because they both are very good at what they do, but I'm gonna have to send them back.
Aww.
Folks, we know that this was a lot of information, and we want to make sure that you can get it all into your brain, your no brain.
Fit it in there, into your no hole. That's what it was, right?
The best way to do it is to download an episode or just look at our show notes at our show page, which, Brian, where do they find that?
twit.tv/KH, and you'll find all the show notes, so like links to these 3D printers and maybe some of the facts of like the bed size and things like that. You want to check out our site to find out those things, but not only that, you'll be able to subscribe or download, which in some of these episodes where we do builds and things, you're gonna want to have the ability to rewind, go back, start over.
Yeah.
So definitely do that.
Don't forget that we also have a presence on Google+. Just go to Google+, look for Know-How. There's a submission process because we want to keep all the spam accounts out. But once you're in, you have access to over 10,000 Kitas. Those are our know-it-alls. These are people who are along all stages of the Maker DIY journey, from noobs to experts. experts. If you want to ask a question, if you want to answer questions, or if you just want to get an idea for a project, go to Google Plus and look for know-how.
That's right. But if you want to ask us a more direct question, or you have something that you want, because a few times I've gotten questions on past builds that we've done, and the best way to get a hold of me is on Twitter, and I am at cranky_hippo.
And you're going to find me at Padre SJ. And we've got a third member of our team who you're going to find at ANELF3. Of course, that we call him
Slow, heavy
Gumpel.
creaking.
Alex Gumpel.
When he's not setting flames to hairspray, he's
And
having a
now
cigar.
we
in
have
the
a
bathroom.
copyright takedown.
It's less than 30 seconds.
Oh, no,
It's fair use.
that's not how it works.
Oh.
All right, folks, until next time, I am Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how,
Go build it, print it, break it.